all the ties, which I think was a farm team for, I think either the Mets or the Orioles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they were a lot of fun. We used to go to games in
Yeah.
Park Park very often. And they were fun. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. So I think the cool was Ireland team.
Call the meeting to order. We have a following thank you this day in the city of Louisville, guys, this evening, as we make our decisions. Carson. This is the October 25th, 2022 regular meeting of the Louisville City Council. Here the minutes of regular meeting of October 11th, 2022 before you. Entertain a motion to adopt those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion and second to adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Under boards and commissions, we have a couple of appointments tonight. The first one, the Cultural Arts Commission, Mr. Shell.
Yes, I'm going to appoint Joe Ornati.
Second. Motion second to appoint Joe Ornati to a 3-year term on the Cultural Arts Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next, Mr. Appleton.
Can I put that on the next agenda, please?
Certainly, thank you, sir. Mr. Gioli, the next.
Yes, I'd like to renominate Mark Darrow, please.
Second.
All right, motion is second, we renominate Mark Darrow to a 2-year term on the Ethics Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. I'm gonna call on Ms. Jenkins to introduce our Women Youth Council for this evening. Ms. Jenkins.
We have with us tonight, several of the youth council members from the 2022-23 school year. First, we have Danny Blanco, a senior at East Coweta High School. Yes, his name. Kalana Gibson, sophomore, Northgate. Debria Fowler, senior, East Coweta High School. Stella Weaver, junior, Newton. Davis Chapman, junior, Heritage.
Welcome, thanks for being here. Okay, the next item on the agenda tonight is the annual report for the Parks Commission. I believe Mr. Smith. Up front, please. And if you'll introduce yourself for the record, please.
I'm Martin Smith. I serve on the Parks Commission Board, and here to present the annual report.
Thank you. Appreciate your service.
Thank you. The objectives for 2022, as y'all will see, look through the next one, we had several things to observe and monitor, but one to review and implement, which was the Sprayberry's Prairie Road Dog Park improvements. I'm sure y'all have all been over there and visited that. If not, you would. Then we observed and monitored the link, the second and third phase, the C.J. Smith Park, Pickett Field, pickleball facility. We're evaluating the ADA accessibility for all parks. There's been apparently some comments of why we need to look at that. Making an annual evaluation of each individual city park, and then submit this report to the city council. So that's what we, our commission objectives for 22 were. Moving forward for 23 and beyond, the more review and implement for Sprayberry Dog Park. You know, it's constant when you've got the dogs and people visiting. There's going to be a need to address different concerns, and Mike and his team have done a great job with that. Continue with the links, latest phases, changes and things we keep watching at C.J. Smith, Pickett Field, pickleballs, which is very popular, watching those. And then research and design for ADA compliant at all of our parks, not just the ones that we looked at in the past. And then prepare the report for next year and evaluate any future recreational needs for the city.
Any questions, council? Particularly glad you got the ADA compliance up there. Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, annual report for the Youth Activities Commission, Mr. Gardner. If you'll introduce yourself for the record.
Okay, I'm Roy Garner, and I'm the chairman of the Youth Activities Commission device. We are the adult part of the Youth Council. We serve as advisors for that group. There are 14 of us. Each of you had 2 picks. There's one vacancy, as you can see up there. I'm chair, Peyton Sheldon's vice chair, Cynthia Colbert secretary, and you can look at the rest of them there. Next slide. We do have 36 members, youth members. These are select groups of students throughout the city and county. Northgate, Newnan, East Coweta, Heritage, even got one from Central Carrollton this year. But the parents live in Newnan, so that works out. All high schoolers, sophomores, juniors, and seniors are eligible to be. Next slide. What we accomplished in 22 and 23, we were city ambassadors for the Link Fun Run. We were ambassadors for the Nora Orchestra concert. We served as ambassadors for the Wadsworth concert, ambassadors for the Halloween pep parade. We assisted in the stormwater marketing program. We served as Christmas parade judges, served as elves, ambassadors for the Christmas parade. We hand out candy and take pictures with the kids during the parade. Participated in the GMA Youth Conference, Georgia Municipal Association. That's a state conference for youth councils throughout the state. We engaged with state representatives and senators at the state capitol, created and developed Valentine's for Cancer Treatment Center patients. 2 new youth council, Newnan Youth Council members served on the Plant Newnan board, and we have a preliminary planning for leadership lecture series. You'll probably hear more about that later on, but it's a chance for us to share with the rest of the city and the county some of the great speakers that we have at our meetings. We plan to do one a year and just have a dynamic speaker to come and do that, and something that we're going to sponsor and try to do it once a year. The various training programs we provided in 22 and 23, meet and greet with our city, with the mayor and city council, summer orientation at Newnan Utilities facilities, summer orientation with the public safety, fire and police department, government training, the city budget process with Hasco came and talked to us that night. Great presentation. Government training, also public policy class at West Georgia College. That's our next meeting. We're looking forward to that. Government training session with local 911 director. We're looking forward to that also. GMA Youth Symposium in Dublin. We sent 2 representatives, if you'll go to the next slide. 2 youth representatives, and Cynthia Colbert went to that also. Remember, that is the Georgia meeting for the kids. The NLC is coming up next month, as a matter of fact. We're sending 6 people, our contingent to that, with 2 adult advisors to go to that, and that's in Kansas City, so we're looking forward to that. Peer engagement, we've got a social with LaGrange Youth Council for our Christmas social this year, something we hadn't done before, but we're looking forward to that, sharing it with them. Government training, again, went to state capitol. For civic training, I had sessions with Bridging the Gap and participated in the Newnan Plant Newnan board membership. And our calendar highlights for the year. July, we had the new member orientation, a session that we do for all upcoming sophomores, and it's a great chance for them to learn a lot about the city and what goes on there. We had our first meeting of the year in August, meet and greet with the mayor and city council. You've seen the slides on that. In September, we had our meeting at City Hall. October, we had government training, the city budget process with Hasco again. November, we're meeting at West Georgia College to do the public policy review. In December, we'll have our Christmas social with LaGrange and have the Christmas parade also. January, we'll have our normal meeting at City Hall. February, state capitol trip, the YAC retreat session, a chance for the adults to get together and plan for the next year. March, spring tasting unit. April, New Youth Council meeting at City Hall. In May, we have our end of the year banquet and officer elections. We do that at the Newman Center. And then in July, we start over again with the new member orientation. So as you can see, the group is very active. We're proud of each and every one of them. They're a great group of kids, and we look forward to having a fantastic year.
Thank you.
That's it.
We appreciate it. Any questions? Good job. Scar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate everybody's participation. Great program. Okay, do you have anything tonight?
I do.
I don't have anything tonight. Under new business, the first item, I'm gonna ask Mayor Pro Tem DeVos to handle this item as in, I have a business relationship with the company.
Okay, item F, rezoning request for RZ 2022-13, for information only. Requires no vote. Anything you need to add?
No, sir.
Johnson? Okay. So with that, I present to you.
Thank you, Mr. DeVos.
Yes, sir.
Next item on the agenda is a consideration for allowing food and beverages in Wadsworth. Moses, how are you?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Thank you.
So I am here tonight to ask for consideration of a policy change that would allow for the sale and serving of food and beverages at the Wadsworth Auditorium. Currently, we don't allow it inside the auditorium. And the reason that we're asking for it is because, as you can see in your packet, since 2018, which was the creation of Leisure Services and the movement of our office over at the Wadsworth, we have increased our rentals over there almost 200%, from 36 in 2018 to projected 90 this year. So we're really busy, and along with those rentals come a lot of requests for food and beverage for those events. And so that's why we're here asking just for consideration or suggestions, input on what you guys would like to see if that policy is considered, policy change is considered, what you would like to see in that to make that change for future rentals starting next year.
Council, I guess the first question is, have a desire for them to move forward. If they do, then she's asking for some guidance. I don't have any, someone else may. I would like just to see what you do as a professional and bring that back to us, but anyone else have any guidance? I mean, I've read what you've got, and I think everything makes a lot of sense. But anyone else have anything?
Yes, sir. With this, I'm sure we're gonna have, probably extra cleaning. One of the concerns I have are the seat covers that we have in the auditorium, 600+ seats. And could you check to see, because I'm sure some of those seat covers might get damaged, we're gonna have to replace them.
Sure.
But just check to see if we can still get those tight, because if not, they're gonna be mismatched.
Sure.
So, but, and a fee schedule that will reflect, we're gonna have an increase in cleaning. We are, so, I mean, I know you all know that.
Sure.
So,
Certainly do that,
Thank
and
you.
include that in the
thank you.
next presentation.
Anyone else?
Katie, of the ones that you say call and go somewhere else, can you like put a number on that or percentage that you feel is being lost? And I think would help us. I'm in favor of staff proceeding, but I think it'd be good for us to know what your percentage is and how much you feel is being lost. Like 85, could it be 95 for next year, as you move up? Just tell me what you feel is being lost.
Currently, we've probably turned away about 35 or 40% of the request, and these are all mainly coming from new renters,
Okay.
promoters, entertainment companies who have either been to the Wadsworth or have caught word about the Wadsworth from another act that's been there. And when they call to ask to bring whatever musician or show that they're wanting to bring, that's one of the first things they ask, is how do you handle food and beverage sales? And as soon as they find out we don't have any, then, okay, thank you. And then that's usually it.
Right. Thank you. Well, so that's a real positive. So the negative is we don't do it, we have to turn them away. The positive is they're calling and asking and want to come in and use our venue, which is a win-win, right?
Mr. Greco?
Yeah, just one quick question on the one section says, has researched the policy of similar venues. Could we get a breakdown on, like, all venues, kind of more modern venues, and the historic venues, kind of like the Wadsworth, and what, I always see specifically with historic venues, that I know, like the Fox, but there's other historic venues as well, and what is their policy, and how do they do this? To kind of just get a reference point on what they do.
Sure.
In relation to the bigger picture of the modern ones too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've researched a good number of both, and all of them have some sort of policy that allow for food and beverage sales. So we're certainly in the minority when it comes to that, but I can certainly put together information about each one of those and what their policy, how their policy reads.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Is there a motion to instruct staff? So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion?
I do.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. So, in looking at the price structure, are you going to allow for those who don't opt to have sales to have this lower price?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Mr. Kramer and I have already spoken about that and what those options would look like. And while we don't want to discredit the ones who have been coming back year after year, or dance recitals, stage plays, things like that, we will allow that to stay the same and have the food and beverage as an add-on fee, and that's where the increase would come, is if they want to have that. It would not be a required fee if they don't plan on having food and beverage.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor, you have to say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Okay, the next is a presentation of policy recommendation to establish parameters for eligibility and funding maximums for a premium pay category under the ARPA. If you'll recall, a couple of meetings past, we had a request. We delayed that action on that request because we didn't have a policy that covered the pay, premium pay. And Mr. Moody's here tonight with some options for us. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the three options that we have presented today are recommendations that we feel would be appropriate measures determined based off of your decision. So you'll see before you Exhibit A presents an option to not authorize the use of premium pay. Staff feels that this is a decent recommendation based off of the fact that funding availability has gotten rather low. ARPA funds do have to be retained through 2026 to pay for direct and indirect administrative costs associated to audits and obviously grant administration. And those costs do fluctuate, they do change. Right now I cannot have a specific recommended number, but I would obviously recommend maybe around the $400,000 range just because the cost of audits does change and we are unsure whether or not those audits will be every single year at this point. But right now funds stand at about $886,000 remaining in the docket. There is currently $624,000, which would bring us down to around $200,000 left, well below that range of what we think would be appropriate. Exhibit B presents an option similar to our small business model. This just sets a cap at the request limit for $75,000, and Exhibit C presents the exact same policy recommendation, just a change in the funding maximum at $150,000.
Any questions of Mr. Moody regarding his three exhibits and three?
Yes, I'm sorry, I have a question. Can you repeat option one again? You just stated that there's $886,000, I see in the report here.
Correct.
You are recommending roughly $400K to remain for administrative costs, et cetera, through 2026, which leaves 486,000 for available now. And you added another number, you threw in another number, another figure in there.
Yes.
So can you repeat that figure, please?
Absolutely. So, as you said, 886,000 currently remains. In the docket of applications that we have received, there's $624,985 outstanding. Those numbers do not line up with that recommendation, therefore,
Right.
we will also need to amend the applications in the docket to fit within that. But at the same time, this is a good point in time to consider or closing the ARPA application altogether.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions on this? Is there a motion on the issue?
I'm gonna make a motion that we exhaust option 1.
Second.
Okay, now, just to be clear, it's Exhibit A?
Exhibit A, option 1, yeah.
Yeah, right. Motion is second. Any discussion, further questions?
So we're gonna, when we do this, we won't allow under this particular way to do it, right?
There's no premium pay.
No premium.
No premium pay.
Okay.
That's correct. That's what the motion is.
One question, Mayor. With no premium pay, ones that are in the docket, they won't receive premium pay, correct?
Correct. Now, the ones in the docket would have had to apply for premium pay. None of the others in the docket besides the application that is also on the next agenda item have applied for it. Everyone else has either been in the small business category or other economic impacts.
Thank you.
So somebody could apply for premium pay and also apply under small business, or they can only apply one or the other?
If you, to apply under the small business category, you would have to exhibit a loss. That's been fairly consistent across the board with small businesses, nonprofits, businesses within the tourism, hospitality industry as well. So that would be the one kicker to that. They would have to be able to exhibit a loss on tax returns. And that would be 2019, 2020, and additionally in 2021 if necessary.
We have a motion and a second that we adopt Exhibit A is our policy regarding premium pay. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Moody. And of course, you have the next item on the agenda, which is moot at this point because we don't have a policy that will cover it. But I think we do need a motion from the council to, if we can dispense with the agenda item by a motion to deny. Motion to deny based on the fact we don't have a policy.
Right. Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Moody. The next is a consideration of a rate change for brush and bulk collections and establishing rates for account management, customer service functions for the district customers. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good, Mr. Mayor. How are you, sir, council? I'm before you this evening to ask for consideration of a rate change for the brush and bulk and establish rates for a customer service account management function for the sanitation. Currently, and I want to make it clear that this will start January the 1st with the new contract that's going in place with Amway's being provider. But currently, we're charging $6.54 for the city portion of the services. We had Ms. Abby Goldsmith, I think she's reported to council several times with rate studies and showed that to keep our fund whole, we needed to increase those rates some. The second part that I'm asking for is, it was the wishes of this council for us to develop a billing or customer service function so we can handle that service in-house. That would send the work orders to Amway, or so that our customers, our residents would not have to be calling like they currently are now, the service provider. So there's kind of two portions in that. We're requesting is $9.26 per month to cover the expenses for brush and bulk, and an additional $1.88 per month for the account administration portion of it. So that would be a total of $11.14 added to the residential and waste charges that has been already posed.
But of the $11.14, $6 and where is it, 54 cents is already what we're charging.
It is already,
So this is essentially, is an increase of $4.60 when you do all that math.
that is correct.
So, right. Questions from council?
Just one question. Will this amount, you just said about keeping us whole, will it make us whole, so to speak? Will it cover what needs to be covered now as opposed to subsidizing it? That's what I'm asking.
The numbers that we have projected into the future, I mean, if the growth stays the same, it should keep us whole.
All things being equal,
Right, if
yeah.
those variables change, and, I mean, it could be off a little bit.
Understood, but it's a good start.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're comfortable with this number, but I don't want you to be confused. There's still the downtown service that we are still subsidizing. This is not a downtown village park. This is.
That's what it's okay, it's
So
different.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Right.
Residential.
What would the total bill for garbage and for brush be monthly for residents?
$32.40 per month.
Including this 1114.
Yes.
That's correct.
And this is not subsidizing the downtown service at all, is it?
Okay. Any other questions?
One more question. That 3240, what is that up from? I can't remember what they were paying before.
I don't have,
Roughly 1775 a month currently, under GFL.
Okay.
Okay. All right, is there a motion regarding this issue?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, we adopt the presentation as presented, the numbers that were presented for residential bulk and brush. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
The next is consideration of the purchase price and pre-order of a fire training facility burn building.
Mr. Mayor, already members of the council, in Ms. Helton's absence, I'm prepared to answer any questions you have. As you may recall, this body several months ago asked staff to move forward and approve that we work with a firm towards GMP. We believe here's the maximum price that will come in the future to deliver a fully rebuilt and renovated state-of-the-art fire training facility for our fire services team. In an effort to kind of control costs in a kind of hyper-competitive environment we're in now, we're recommending that you authorize staff using New South Construction as our CMO risk to purchase the burn building in advance of starting construction. We believe there's cost savings that are available to the project.
All right, any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion, and funding is out of SPOS 219.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Now, any discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Craig.
On the breakdown on the costs, they're charging us 7% sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Is that appropriate?
Yes, sir. We have to, that we cannot, even as an end user, you may think that the city's buying, the contractor's buying, it's the sales tax, but then there's case law around this. When we looked into it too, it's about a $60,000 bill for sales tax, but yes, we don't, this is,
There are about 10 states across the country that allow a sales tax exemption for municipal, local government contracting, but Georgia happens to not be one of those. So
$61,000 doesn't seem that.
we pay sales tax whenever project do it.
Yeah. So is there a way we could like buy it ourselves and use these folks as a consultant firm?
that's not, I was here to answer that, but no, I would not recommend we.
That's fine. I just trying to see how we keep it, you know.
Legal.
Yeah, no, we have.
All right, any other questions, comments? I've got a motion to second. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried, thank you. Under unfinished business, this is a public hearing, I'm opening this at this time. Rezoning request RZ 2022-08 by Melissa Griffiths on behalf of Trot Ridge Residential, 14.23 acres located at 110 Hill Street. Parcel ID number N15001001. Question change in zoning conditions by amending the development plan consideration of ordinance. Ms. Doe, how are you?
Doing well, thank you very much. As you all know, this is the site of the Newman Loss mixed-use development. The site was originally approved as a mixed-use development back in 1998, with slight increases in square footages, both the commercial and residential components being approved in 2000. When the zoning ordinance and corresponding zoning map were updated by this body in 2017, the Headley property was actually removed from this mixed-use development and given a CUN zoning designation. So the applicant's request today is to make the change in the master plan conditions to reflect the loss of that Headley property and also to convert 18,950 square feet of commercial space into 9 residential units. As with all rezoning, staff has completed an assessment of each of the 8 required standards, and I'll give you a quick summary of each. Staff felt the proposed use would be suitable in view of zoning and development of adjacent and nearby property, since the property is already being used as a mixed-use development with apartment and commercial uses. There will be no adverse impact on adjacent nearby property, as 9 residential units will actually generate less traffic than 18,950 square feet of commercial space. Could it be used as currently zoned? The property could be used as currently zoned, except that the Headley property should be removed from this plan since it is now zoned CUN. Would the project cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities? All of the service providers have responded that they are able to address the needs of this development with the current equipment, manpower, and capacity that they have. In terms of the comprehensive plan, the future land use map shows this property as future mixed-use development, which would be compatible with this designation. Only the conditions of zoning would change, so the request would be consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning designation. Would the proposed use be supported by new or changing conditions not anticipated in the comprehensive plan? The City Council again completed its full update of the comp plan in 2021, and you gave it a future mixed-use development designation, and there are no new or changing conditions that have been discussed or considered since that update. Staff does feel this request shows a reasonable balance between the promotion of the public health, safety, morality, and general welfare, and the right to unrestricted use of property. The only use change being sought is the conversion of commercial space to 9 additional apartment units. The footprint's going to remain the same. The units be located in existing buildings. In addition, all the service providers have indicated that they have no issues with the request and would be able to address the conversion with current manpower, equipment, and capacity. In terms of the Headley property, it was rezoned during the readoption of the zoning ordinance in 2017, and it is no longer a part of the project. Therefore, this rezoning will amend the current master plan to actually reflect the conditions that exist today. So in summary, staff found that the development met 7 of the 8 standards. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on September 13, 2022, and voted unanimously to recommend approval of the change in the master plan. They did suggest the following 2 conditions: that the project will be consistent with the plan and square footage allocations specified in the post-zoning calculations, 21,077 square feet of commercial space and 153,073 square feet of multifamily residential space with 154 total units. And also a proper condition that the applicant put in, which they said in conjunction with the support of the city's recent investment in the Link Trail located along the property's eastern border and existing pond, the landlord will work within the environmental constraints defined for the area to improve the condition, aesthetics, and access to the pond for residents and the public. And that's the report of the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Donovan?
Quick question, so we're changing from MXD1 to MXD, but we're taking out the commercial, right? So
Well,
is there any, what commercials left in there?
Okay, so when you first enter, there are some commercial units that are there, as you enter into the development. So those are the units that they're looking to convert. They say they have an issue with trying to get people to actually utilize that space as commercial. So they just would like to convert it into residential. There's also another commercial building on down that's where the Link is. If you go further into the property on the eastern side, that's gonna remain. Headley was part of that development when this was originally done as an MXD1. So basically, you're taking that out since council chose to zone them as CUN in the last plan, and it's no longer part of the development.
So I guess my question is, without Headley in there, and we convert these commercial to residential, and with only that one last little commercial area in there, does it still meet the requirements for MXD?
It would, it's a mixed-use development.
It is still, so it's truly a mixed-use development
It is, yes.
in the spirit of the ordinance?
Well, I mean, it is MXD, and that's what it's zoned for, and it does have a mixture of commercial and residential use.
What? Any other questions, Ms. Donovan? Okay, I'm going to reverse things for just a second. By a show of hands, is there anyone here who is here tonight to object to this rezoning? Everybody know what we're doing? This is a rezoning at 110 Field Street. Anyone here to object? Okay, Ms. Griffiths, you have a presentation? Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Griffiths, 32 South Court Square, Newnan, Georgia, 30263. I've got Christy Brooks with Tri-Bridge Residential with me tonight. We actually started working on this project about 2 years ago before the pandemic started, when we became aware that the master plan the city had approved was no longer in effect because the Headley property was no longer part of, I guess, the percentages. And so I got with Mr. Sears, we got with staff to figure out what we needed to do, because basically we were not in compliance and it was not anything we had done on our own. So in working with staff and with Mr. Sears, we realized that we needed to file a rezoning because the MXD1 designation was no longer even an option in the city of Newnan, and we were not trying to be in violation of the percentages that had been approved by this body so many years ago. So what we're hoping for tonight is simply, we still do have an MXD. There's over 21,000 square feet of commercial, and we're trying to add 9 additional residential units. I can have Ms. Rooks go in more detail if you prefer, but the bottom line is we have not been able to get viable tenants for that commercial because of the location. They don't have the visibility that is needed to maintain commercial tenants there. Now that the link is coming right beside it, we're hoping to, with the Crawford condition, upgrade the little pond area to make it more appealing, and to add these 9 additional units. Again, it will be less traffic than with the commercial count that is there. The footprint will not change. It will remain. We do have some commercial tenants that we want to maintain, but we would like to add just 9 additional units. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Any questions, Ms. Griffiths?
One quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Converting this to residential from commercial, how's the parking on that?
So we have already discussed that with Ms. Donovan and went back over and looked at parking numbers, and we're fine with the count as we had before, even changing those from commercial to residential based on ordinance requirements. So we've checked the parking. There will be no additional parking added to it. We're within the number allotted by the ordinance.
So to like maintain those parallel parking spots in front in addition to the parking down below?
Yes, sir. We'll maintain all the parking that's already there, but we will not be increasing the parking.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Alexander?
One question, does it meet the fire code standards, being that these are going from commercial to residential? Or is there any, do we need to look at the fire code standards?
When they convert, then they will go to the building department, as will be a change of occupancy, and then they'll make them meet any code standards.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being here this evening. I'm going to close the public hearing at this time, since there is earlier asked anyone in opposition, no one came forward, and ask for a motion from the council regarding the report recommendation of the planning commission.
I'll make that motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Okay, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The next item then would be a motion to approve the rezoning request.
Make a motion approved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the rezoning request. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The next item on this particular thing is to adopt the ordinance.
Make a motion, we adopt the ordinance.
Motion second, to adopt the ordinance and the rezoning request. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Tonight, under visitors, the first item is a request from Foundation Church for 3 parking places on West Washington for ice cream truck during the annual Munchkin Masquerade. Someone tweet this for please. Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is a request from the New York Times Herald to set up a table, possibly a tent, it says, on West Court Square to wrap present November the 25th for the Coweta Community Day.
Make it for a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the request. Any discussion?
Got a quick question for you about that tent. Is there any issue with the 10? Is it, are we expecting bad weather? I just want, when it gets gusty and windy in the fall, you know.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I think this is, we haven't, I don't know if you want to come up and speak to that, but typically folks that bring things will weigh them down and be approached.
Okay.
I don't think she would like to.
There's a required special permit.
And they'll be on the sidewalk, this is the day after Thanksgiving, sort of when we try and push shopping into downtown, so it's a big wrapping operation that they've done for a few years now.
Yep.
All right,
Thanks.
No tent issues.
Finish, that's all right.
Okay, I did have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Any other questions? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. That ends our regular agenda for the evening, and we do have a reason to move into executive session for legal. I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Bowes to take care of that motion for us.
I move that we now enter into closed session as allowed by the CGA 5014-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for purpose of discussing legal matters. And that we, in open session, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA 5014-4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session to confirm subject matters of the closed session or with exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Chris, do you have something? Okay, all right, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye.